folks, and welcome to Time Travel Tuesday. This is Johanna, and this week we're going to be exploring the history of the almanac. Now, you might have heard of familiar sayings like, when it thunders in winter, you'll have 10 days until snow, or red sky at night, sailor's delight. Well, we're going to look into what those little sayings all started from and where the almanac really originated from in North America.
The first thing to come to mind when talking about weather forecasting is the almanac. Many today purchase a copy for humor, but also to see what the upcoming seasons will be like. There are also famous almanacs in our history. Take Poor Richard's Almanac from Benjamin Franklin, for instance. Although Poor Richard came about first in 1732, there were other contemporaries such as An Astronomical Diary or Almanac for the Christian Era, first published in 1725 in Boston. There is also Stephen Day's Almanac, which scholars believe to have been the first started in 1638 and the first book to be printed in the American colonies. This would make Day the earliest North American publisher of an almanac and the man who set the stage for almanacs filled with plantings, harvest times, folklore, zodiac and lunar signs, important dates, and the like. In Day's 1691, an almanac for the year of our Lord, each month boasts a list of dates, forecasts, and moon cycles aligned with zodiac symbols. At the back of the almanac, we find a list of presages of weather by the sun, moon, and stars, which reads, "If the sun have in the morning under him some troubling clouds, it denotes rain, and much tempest of weather. If the clouds be troubled in the morning, early and black, it denotes the blowing of a north wind. If the sun and element be red in the morning, it betokeneth rain weather. If it be red in the evening, it is a token the next day shall be a fair weather." It's here we can see the origins of these folk sayings, like red sky at night, sailor's delight. It's also a first-hand account of the combination of weather forecasting and superstitions, or even leading into folklore magic. However, there is a backlash against this type of weather folkloric prediction by 1762. Nathaniel Lowe, an almanac publisher from Boston, stated, "All who write fashionably in this day condemn astrology as nothing but a mere whim, and all who pretend to knowledge of it as derived and set as nothing but a parcel of fanatics, that there are with their inseparable delusions endeavoring to impose on the public." Here we see a division between the learned who have rejected these folkloric traditions and those who still buy an almanac every year. This point is continued by Nathaniel Ames, who writes in his 1731 An Astronomical Diary, or an Almanac for the year 1731, a poem which states, "There are some I know who do presume to say, the world was never forewarned such as a way. But I unto these fiery zealots tell, astrology's from heaven and not from hell. 'Tis no black art, no damned necromancy, no witchcraft either, as some please to fancy." Almanac publishers sought to correct this correlation between the occult and their own publications. Writers such as Nathaniel Ames cited natural astrology was built upon the effects and influences of heavenly bodies on our earthly bodies, and goes on to clearly state, "I am not a superstitious bigot." Still further, writer Jacob Taylor states mathematical and Newtonian philosophy are no strangers to the power and virtues of celestial bodies. Taylor and Ames's point is that astrology is a science based upon knowledge of the cycles of the earth, and may by the moon, seasons, or otherwise. That natural astrology was uncontroversial and unambiguous. As scholar T.J. Tomlin states, an argument can be made that these almanacs were using the science available, and although they did brush with superstition, they were also highly informative, comedic, and generally useful to the average colonist. In the South especially, almanacs sold in numbers that strained belief. In Williamsburg, Virginia, in the 1760s, 5,000 copies of the Virginia Almanac were printed annually. Although the religious tide of the Great Awakening would shake the arguable nature of science and almanacs, and would inevitably cut down on the number of almanacs published overall, the tradition still persisted. In the 19th century, we'll still see almanacs being published and used here in York County, South Carolina. In November of 1854, an issue of the Yorkville Inquirer features an advertisement for Miller's Almanac for 1860, published out of Charleston. Likewise, we see in the October 1858 issue of the Orville a guide to translating the jargon of an almanac, so it was still indeed in the public view and in public knowledge.
So from Miller's Almanac to Nathaniel Ames to Poor Richard's, we've explored a whole history of almanacs, but really we've just scratched the surface. I definitely encourage you all to seek out some more history about the almanac and explore its very interesting and varied history. As always, thank you all for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you out on site, live and in person. Thank you, and have a great day.